I want you to imagine for just a second that you are at the absolute peak of your power. Like you've spent years honing your craft.
Right.
You have the best tools money can buy, an impenetrable safety net, and, just the unwavering confidence of someone who has literally conquered every obstacle in their path.
You're basically a demigod in your field.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are a demigod. And then in a fraction of a second, with a literal snap of a finger, all of it is stripped away.
Oh, man.
You are completely depowered and thrown into a cosmic maximum security timeout. How long do you think you'd survive?
I mean, it is the ultimate nightmare scenario, really. It forces you to rely on a version of yourself you haven't been since you were a complete novice.
Yeah.
The artificial layers of security are just gone.
No.
It leaves only your foundational instincts and whatever base level skills you haven't completely forgotten how to use.
Today's deep dive takes that terrifying psychological premise and watches it play out in real time.
It's wild to see.
It really is. We are pulling from the raw audio of Session 80 of Adventures in Svarta, which is this legendary tabletop role-playing campaign.
Highly recommend it.
We're looking at a group of players navigating a brilliantly constructed, seemingly impossible scenario where they're high-level heroes.
13th level, right?
Yeah, 13th level, meaning they are heavy hitters who regularly reshape reality, but they are suddenly robbed of their mathematical dominance. Okay, let's unpack this, because the way this session starts is an absolute masterclass in the bait and switch.
It really is. The setting initially lulls the players into this false sense of total security.
Sure.
The party is visiting an air shrine, which is located in this strange, crusty desert environment.
Yeah, and they're just casually chatting with a friendly, seemingly harmless gnome named Zakra.
The players are so relaxed at this point. I mean, they are level 13. They're used to walking into a room and being the most dangerous things in it,
Right, and the gnome is offering them shade. He's wearing these cool sunglasses. He's pointing out the local sites like a tour guide.
Totally unthreatening.
Yeah, and he casually mentions they need a specific token of the local king to get anywhere. And the party just happens to have a platinum headband that fits the bill perfectly.
Which is so lucky. Or so they think.
Exactly. So the Bard Warlock character, Stroop, steps forward to present it, completely unbothered. The players are probably, leaning back in their chairs, expecting a standard quest dialogue.
And then the narrative takes a hard left turn into a body horror movie.
Ah, yes.
The gnome's head literally splits open down the middle.
It's so gross.
Light and flames just start pouring out of him, and his skin peels away.
Yeah.
The party realizes, to their absolute horror, that there was never a gnome to begin with.
Wait, so it was like...
It's essentially a fleshy suit, what the lore refers to as the skin of the dead.
Oh.
Yeah. And erupting out of this macabre disguise is Cryala.
And Cryala is not just some random desert monster. She is a terrifyingly powerful Afridi, like a high-ranking fire elemental demon working for overlords to systematically destroy these elemental shrines.
The player's casual demeanor shatters instantly. I mean, you can hear it in the audio.
Oh, absolutely. One of the players actually notes out loud how laughably out of their depth they are. They point out that a creature like this is so powerful she, quote-unquote, farts out wishes.
Which, I mean, that colorful description perfectly illustrates the mechanical gap in power here.
It really does.
A level 13 party is strong, capable of taking down dragons, but an ancient noble Afridi operates on an entirely different scale of reality manipulation.
They are on a whole other level.
Right. The players know the math. They know they are moments away from a guaranteed total party kill.
But right before Cryala can turn them into a pile of ash, this unexpected intervention happens. A Smurfette-like genie named Zephyra.
Who the players immediately just start calling Smurfette.
Right, of course they do. She suddenly shunts the entire party out of the desert and into a pocket dimension. They pop into existence on a bunch of silk cushions in this bizarre Arabian Night-style room.
It feels like a rescue at first.
It really does, like they just got saved at the last second.
But what's fascinating here is that Glee Cucker, which is the name of this dimension, isn't a sanctuary at all.
Not even close.
No. Zephyr explains it is an elemental equilibrium prison. It's a cosmic timeout designed specifically for elementals, creatures of fire, water, earth, and air, who have lost their natural neutrality.
So if they get too extreme.
Exactly. If an elemental becomes too much of a zealot, too lawful, too chaotic, too good, or too evil, they get pulled into this holding cell to basically cool off until their fundamental nature resets.
And the crazy part is Zephyra didn't swoop in as some all-powerful savior. She's actually a prisoner herself.
Albeit a voluntary one.
Right. Kerala had ambushed her earlier, so to save her own life, Zephyr used her magic to shunt herself into this prison. It's like, imagine you're swimming in the ocean and a great white shark charges you, so you frantically dive into an abandoned submarine to save yourself.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, but once the heavy steel hatch locks behind you, you realize the submarine has no engine, the controls are dead, and it's slowly filling with water.
That is the exact predicament. Zephyr is entirely trapped. The only way out of Glee Cucker is to obtain the blessing of the 4 elemental wardens of the prison.
Which you can't do.
Right, the problem is the other inmates absolutely despise her, so she cannot do it alone. She pulled the party into the prison solely because they are carrying that platinum headband.
The token.
The token she needs to parlay with the wardens. She needs the heroes to act as her bodyguards and diplomats.
On paper, this sounds like standard fantasy fare, right? Go to the 4 corners of the map, talk to the wardens, fight some monsters, and escape.
Pretty standard quest structure.
But the prison isn't just a physical cage with bars. It is a spiritual mechanical dampener designed to forcibly pacify cosmic beings.
It's brutal.
It fundamentally strips the heroes of their power. The debuffs are the core tension of the whole session.
The mechanics of Glee Cucker are brilliantly punishing. Because it's a spiritual plane built to force ultra-powerful zealots into equilibrium, it violently suppresses raw power.
Tell them about the hit points.
Oh, this is the most shocking part for the players. Every character's hit points are instantly reduced to exactly 1/3 of their normal maximum, rounded down.
That is a staggering mathematical penalty. Like, a character who usually has around 80 hit points, who can take a few sword swings and brush it off, suddenly has 26.
A strong gust of wind could knock them unconscious at that point.
Literally. And their ability to heal that tiny pool of health is completely nerfed.
Oh yeah, the healing is terrible in there.
Because in this specific game system, you usually have a pool of hit dice you can spend during a short rest, basically catching your breath to heal up a substantial amount.
But not in Glee Cucker.
No. In Glee Cucker, you are limited to using exactly 1 single hit die per rest.
Yeah.
Your body's natural magical recovery is just shut off.
And the suppression extends beyond their physical bodies, straight into their inventory.
Oh, the magic items.
Right. Every single magic item they possess becomes completely mundane.
That's devastating.
A highly prized +1 magic bow. It's just a regular piece of carved wood now. Magical armor that deflects blows is just standard, heavy steel.
What about their storage?
Portable holes and bags of holding are magically sealed shut. They cannot be opened. Even their lifelines, their healing potions, just taste like weird, useless, vaguely fruity drinks.
That is so rough. But the magic users take the hardest hit of all, right?
Definitely. Their spell slots, the internal magical batteries they use to cast spells, are artificially capped.
So they still possess their high-level slots, but if a wizard tries to expend a massive 7th-level spell slot, the prison just dampens it.
The spell fizzles out and only generates a weak 2nd-level effect.
Which is a huge loss of resources.
Yeah.
And this raises an important question, right? Isn't this just the game master torturing the players?
It does feel like that at first glance.
It feels overly punishing to take away everything they've spent 79 previous sessions earning. I mean, why strip them of all their toys?
This raises an important point about game design philosophy, particularly at higher tiers of play. By the time characters reach level 13, players often suffer from mechanical complacency.
Complacency. How so?
Well, they have so many magical items, massive health pools, and high-level spells that they can often just mathematically bulldoze their way through challenges.
Ah, I see. They don't have to think as hard.
Exactly. They stop engaging with the narrative environment because they can just hit the problem with a giant magical hammer.
That makes sense.
By implementing these artificial constraints, the game master forces the players to stop relying on brute mathematical force.
Because the giant hammer is gone.
Right. When it's gone, and you only have a fraction of your health, you have to look up from your character sheet. You have to start paying attention to the terrain, collaborating with your teammates, and manufacturing tactical synergy.
They are forced to actively search for loopholes just to survive. And the brilliant thing is, the game master built loopholes into the physics of the prison.
Which is key. It's not impossible, just restricted.
Right. Because Glee Cucker only suppresses high-level burst magic and magical items, the players realize that their absolute lowest-level abilities still function perfectly.
Cantrips, for example.
Yes. Cantrips, which are basic, zero-level spells so ingrained in a magic user they are essentially muscle memory, they just slip right under the prison's radar.
Ritual spells also become incredibly vital here. A ritual spell takes 10 minutes of uninterrupted focus to cast. You're physically drawing circles and chanting slowly, rather than consuming a volatile spell slot in an instant.
So it sneaks past the sensors, basically.
Exactly. Because it's a slow, steady, deliberate buildup of magic, it bypasses the sudden magical tripwires of the prison dampeners.
So basic first-level utility spells suddenly become their greatest assets. Take a spell like Good Berry, which normally just creates 10 little magical berries that heal a single hit point each.
Right, usually ignored at high levels.
Completely ignored. But in a prison where normal healing is shut off and every single hit point is precious, Good Berry becomes critical survival gear.
It's amazing.
These epic world-saving heroes are suddenly surviving on handfuls of magical trail mix just to stay conscious.
It flips the entire value system of the game upside down. The mundane tools they outgrew become essential, and the epic abilities they pride themselves on become useless.
And they desperately need those loopholes.
Oh, for sure, because the ecosystem of Glee Cucker is utterly terrifying.
Let's talk about the physical layout. It's a giant cross with a vast central area called the Crossroads. In the four corners are the domains of the elemental factions, right?
Air, earth, fire, and water.
Yep. The wardens of these factions are hunkered down in the back of their respective zones, and Zephyr needs the party to take the platinum headband to each warden to get their stamp of approval.
The problem is the space between those wardens. The Crossroads is a zone of eternal, grinding war. The elemental inmates are constantly clashing in the center.
It's brutal.
And because it's an elemental plane, if an inmate is killed, they don't actually die permanently. Their energy dissipates and eventually reforms.
So how do they actually win a fight then?
Well, to gain an advantage, the elementals have developed a gruesome tactical practice. When they kill an enemy, they immediately consume the corpses.
That is so grim.
Eating the elemental remains temporarily absorbs the enemy's power and drastically delays their ability to reform.
Yeah.
It is a vicious, endless, grim, dark cycle of violence and cannibalism.
Wow. But here's where it gets really interesting. Faced with this horrifying lore and incredibly lethal mechanics, how do the players respond?
They do what players do best.
They completely undercut the tone. They decide that the ancient, terrifying elemental wardens they need to parley with are just going to be called, quote, poobahs.
Ah, right.
They spend the entire session seriously strategizing about how to get past the quote-unquote smoke sluts to talk to the poobahs. I mean, the game master builds this grueling survival horror scenario, and the players turn the terminology into a Monty Python sketch.
It's hilarious, but it's actually a widely recognized psychological defense mechanism, both in tabletop gaming and in high-stress, real-world environments.
Really? How so?
When individuals are placed in a scenario where they feel stripped of their agency and overwhelmed by grim circumstances, they often use irreverent humor as a tactical shield.
Okay, that makes sense.
It prevents analysis paralysis. By naming a terrifying cosmic warden a poobah, the players are subtly recleansing a sliver of control over their environment. It keeps their panic at bay so they can actually focus on the tactical puzzle.
That's a great point. And the game master lets them have their jokes, but absolutely refuses to let them forget how lethal the physical space actually is.
Oh, the reality check comes fast.
They learn this the hard way when the wizard, Timidor, tries to scout ahead. He has a magical owl familiar named Cornyho. Hoping to get a lay of the land without risking the party, he sends the owl gliding down the hallway toward the fire sector.
Seems like a smart move.
It does. The owl flies gracefully through the air, completely undetected by the enemies, and then it just instantly vaporizes. Poof. A pile of ashes.
The players are stunned. I mean, just totally silent for a second.
Yeah, but when you look at the mechanics, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
It really does. The fire sector isn't just populated by fire monsters. The room itself radiates intense ambient heat.
It's just inherently hot.
Exactly. It's not a trap you can disarm. It's just the physical nature of the space. Any creature that enters takes exactly 1 point of fire damage every few seconds.
Which normally wouldn't be a big deal.
Normally, an owl familiar might have a couple of hit points and could survive a quick swoop in and out. But because of the prison's brutal 1/3 health rule, Cornyho's maximum hit points were mathematically reduced to exactly 1.
Wow.
So a single point of ambient room temperature was instantly lethal.
It is the ultimate reality check. The joke about the poo buzz stops being funny for a second. It proves to the players they can't just run in swinging.
Not at all.
If the ambient room temperature can instantly vaporize a magical owl, what is that same heat going to do to a monk who has been reduced to 20 hit points?
They realize they need an alliance, and they need a flawless tactical plan.
So they smartly decide to approach the Earth sector first. Earth elementals are generally more stoic, slower, and less volatile than creatures of fire or water.
They manage to cautiously navigate into the Earth Zone, parlay with the Tao, the Earth Warden, and successfully present the Platinum Headband to secure the Earth Blessing.
But they don't just take the blessing and leave. This is where they get really clever. They look at the grim, dark rules of the prison and use them to their advantage.
The cannibalism rule.
Exactly. They leverage the eternal war. They convince the Earth Elementals to march out with them and launch a massive, coordinated assault on the fire sector.
And the Earth Elementals enthusiastically agree because they want to butcher the Fire Elementals, eat their remains, and absorb their power.
Right. So the narrative sets up this incredibly tense moment. The fragile, depowered party is standing at the entrance to the fire sector, looking down a hallway filled with hostile fire elementals, salamanders holding flaming tridents.
And that lethal ambient heat that just murdered their owl.
Yes. To make matters worse, the entrance itself is a choke point trap. The fire elementals have engineered the entryway so that burning cinders constantly rain down from the ceiling in a thick curtain.
It's a brutal choke point.
Anyone trying to charge into the room has to pass through a wall of falling fire. With their health drastically reduced, taking even minor damage just walking through the front door is a guaranteed wipeout.
This is exactly where the artificial constraints of Glee Cucker pay off beautifully, forcing a strategy born entirely out of desperation and deep mechanical knowledge.
The strategy they deploy is absolute brilliance. We mentioned earlier that ritual spells still work because the slow casting time bypasses the prison's dampeners, right?
Right.
So the wizard, Timidor, spends 30 minutes safely out of combat, repeatedly casting a ritual called Phantom Steed.
He summons 3 magical ethereal horses.
But they don't climb onto the horses to ride them into battle like heroic cavalry. Instead, they position these phantom steeds at the very front of their marching order and use them as literal mobile meat shields.
It is so smart.
In the mechanics of the game, the enemies inside the room have held actions, meaning they are waiting to strike the very first thing that comes through the door.
The ambush.
Exactly. The party simply shoves the magical horses into the room first, triggering the ambush and allowing the horses to absorb all the lethal arrows and magical blasts.
It's a magnificent manipulation of the game's action economy. They sacrifice the summoned mounts to draw the initial overwhelming barrage of fire.
Exhausting the enemy's immediate attacks.
Yep, and allowing the actual characters to step into the room completely unscathed.
But wait, they still have to navigate that curtain of falling cinders at the door, right?
Right, the environmental trap.
The druid, Ursa, solves the cinder problem by looking at her lowest level utility spells. She has a spell called Create Water, which is normally just used to fill up canteens so the party has drinking water while traveling.
Very basic stuff.
Instead, she casts it to manifest a 30-foot cube of torrential, pouring rain right at the entrance to the fire sector.
I love that.
The heavy rain completely neutralizes the falling cinders, creating a safe, wet tunnel for the fragile party and their hulking earth elemental allies to charge through.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this sequence is exactly what the Game Master was trying to cultivate. Because the party couldn't rely on their high-level magic swords or massive explosive fireballs, they had to critically evaluate their character sheets and think about actual physics.
Because rain puts out fire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Large summoned creatures block line of sight and trigger ambushes. They manipulated the physical terrain and created absolute chaos to level a playing field that was heavily tilted against them.
The combat that follows is incredibly tense, frantic and chaotic. Every single decision matters.
No room for error.
None. Stroop, the Warlock Bard, is huddled in the back, launching Eldritch Blasts. It's just a basic zero-level cantrip, but because it bypasses the dampeners, it's suddenly his most reliable and devastating weapon.
And Timidor.
Timidor, the wizard, runs into the fray, casts a low-level shatter spell to blow up a cluster of salamanders, and then immediately casts Mirror Image to protect himself.
Mirror Image is the perfect defensive choice for a fragile character facing massive damage.
How does it work exactly?
It doesn't require a high-level spell slot, and crucially, it doesn't attempt to boost the wizard's physical armor class.
Okay.
Instead, it creates illusory duplicates of the caster, shifting the defense into mathematical probability. The enemy has to roll a die to see if they hit the real wizard or just harmlessly swipe through a hologram.
Ah, so it drastically lowers the chance of taking damage without relying on raw toughness.
Precisely.
While the wizard uses mathematical probability to protect his low health from afar, Sean the monk has no choice but to survive right on the front lines.
Yeah, that's tough for a monk with low HP.
He is completely surrounded by fire elementals swinging flaming scimitars. He survives almost entirely by relying on a low-level monk ability called Patient Defense.
Which is huge here.
It costs one key point, an internal energy resource he's still allowed to use under the prison rules, and it forces all enemies to attack him with disadvantage.
For those unfamiliar with the mechanics, imposing disadvantage means the attacking game master must roll two 20-sided dice and is forced to take the lower number.
So they miss more often.
It profoundly skews the math in the monk's favor, turning what would be lethal, accurate strikes into clumsy misses. The monk spends the entire grueling fight just dodging, weaving, and parrying, barely surviving blows that would have instantly vaporized him if they had connected.
So you have this intense, highly tactical, mathematically rigorous combat puzzle happening. But we cannot ignore the most absurd detail of the fight.
Oh, I knew you were going to say.
The party has a literal cat named Kitty Wampus, a cat wearing tiny magical bracers.
It's so good.
During the absolute height of this desperate life-or-death struggle against towering demons of pure fire, the player controlling Kitty Wampus announces that the cat runs up to a fire elemental and simply urinates on it.
It is the perfect encapsulation of the tabletop gaming experience.
It really is.
The players are executing a flawless, high-stakes tactical maneuver using meat shield horses, localized weather manipulation, and probability math, and right in the middle of it, a deeply disrespectful cat is peeing on a fire demon.
But somehow, through the combination of all these bizarre, low-level tactics and environmental manipulations, they actually pull it off. They manage to wipe out the fire elementals in the antechamber.
The victory, however, is incredibly short-lived.
Of course it is.
True to the horrific lore of the prison, the earth elementals immediately start feasting on the fiery remains of their enemies. Zephyr quickly warns the party that as the earth elementals gorge themselves, they are absorbing the volatile energy.
Getting stronger.
Yes. They're becoming more powerful, arrogant, and aggressive. The alliance is rapidly deteriorating, and they won't stay friendly for long.
The party realizes they're on a ticking clock. They retreat to a safe corner, huddle up, and cram handfuls of good berries into their mouths, desperately clawing back a few precious hit points while the earth elementals feast.
Just eating trail mix in the corner.
Right. They take a quick, ragged breath, and then they push forward, attempting to breach the next zone, the water sector.
And this is where it gets bad.
The very second they open the door and peer into the murky, flooded pools of the water zone, Sean the monk is instantly grappled, pulled under, and constricted by a massive water weird.
Which is a brilliant and terrifying cliffhanger.
Wait, what exactly is a water weird?
A water weird is an elemental assassin made of the exact liquid the heroes are wading through. It is completely invisible while submerged.
Oh, wow.
The party just barely survived the fire zone by carefully utilizing terrain, sightlines, and controlled entry. But now they are plunged into a flooded environment against a lethal enemy they literally cannot see, and their resources are already severely depleted.
It's a nightmare. So what does this all mean? When we zoom out and look at Session 80 of Adventures in Sparta, we are looking at an absolute masterclass in forced adaptation.
Truly.
The punishing mechanics of the Gleecucker prison prove that when you lose your greatest assets, your high-level magic items, your massive health pool, your ultimate reality-bending spells, you are forced to finally utilize your most overlooked tools.
The basic cantrips, the slow rituals, the simple environmental manipulation.
Exactly. The very things you ignored when you're a demigod become the precise tools that keep you alive.
It strips away all complacency. It's like a champion Formula One driver who is suddenly dropped into a beat-up manual transmission sedan and told they still have to win the race.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
You can no longer rely on the advanced engineering of the machine to do the heavy lifting, right?
Yeah.
You have to rely entirely on your foundational mechanics. Clutch control, reading the road, momentum. You can't just press the win button anymore. You have to earn every single inch of ground through sheer skill and awareness.
It really makes you evaluate your own life. Like, if you were suddenly shunted into your own personal Gleecucker, if you were stripped of your real-world, quote-unquote, magic items in an instant, Your smartphone, your impressive job title, your financial safety net, your curated professional network, or what is actually left.
It's a scary thought.
It is. What are the fundamental base level skills you possess that would actually help you navigate a crisis when all your modern advantages are turned off? It's a daunting question, but taking the time to figure out what your real world cantrips and good berries are might just be the most important deep dive you ever do.